Cool. So I look for a blend of technical, design, and communication, collaborative skills. And there's a whole bunch of ways that I try to evaluate these type of skills when I'm meeting designers. Typically, we look at a portfolio when interviewing and meeting designers, and throughout a portfolio presentation that designers will do, they'll showcase case studies that have visual work, for example, research methodologies, user testing, and different teams they've collaborated with throughout the case study, and that allows us to assess a few different areas all in one, and typically pinpoints which area of expertise in design that person is, because a well-rounded UX UI designer can do most of those things, but typically people will specialize or want to specialize in one specific area. This is probably one of the most difficult things, and it took me a long time to try and define about what's a good designer versus what's a bad designer, because as a recruiter, when you're looking at a portfolio and it looks nice, you think, right, okay, this person's amazing. But when you dig into the areas I just mentioned, such as visual design, testing, research, collaboration, you can pinpoint how much experience people have in those specific areas. So when a designer has worked for a big company, a big brand, typically they'll work on a large product and be able to collaborate with bigger teams and work with researchers. But designers who are working in smaller companies on smaller products, typically they are limited to those types of extra activities you can do as a designer. So I've had to pinpoint how you can separate those who have worked in bigger companies and big products from those who are working in smaller companies and small products to good and bad designers, because ultimately you don't have a choice on which type of products you've worked on. So it's just making sure what we're looking for from a hiring perspective matches what they have worked on. So I do a portfolio presentation at the beginning with the candidate, where I assess the visual, the collaboration, the testing, the research, and I am evaluating soft and hard skills, basic hard skills, but mainly soft skills. And then we'll hand over to the hiring manager, where they'll be really digging deep into the products they worked on, the impact, the business metrics, and the impact the designer had, and the metrics off the back of that. But ultimately, it's handing over at the second stage, where a hiring manager will be really digging deep on the products and hard skills. So you really want their key collaborators to be able to meet the designer. As a designer and a UX designer, you're quite often working with product teams, engineering teams, design teams. So it's really important that each person from the team is able to meet that designer in the interview process. So I've worked in for a company typically where they will have a big full day of interviews, and each designer will meet someone from product engineering, where they'll assess collaboration, challenges that they face working with product or engineering, and like I said, touch points across all the key collaborators is really important, but ultimately a designer is designing something, so it's even more important that there's at least two designers evaluating whether or not their hands-on work is suitable for their product. I think it's finding diverse talent. There seems to be a massive male-orientated industry where there are loads of great talent on the male side, but we struggle to find really top talent on the female side, and it's something that we consciously are trying to improve, and I'm trying to improve on all the time, but ultimately diverse hiring is probably our biggest challenge. Sourcing effectively, networking on LinkedIn, and having a presence, and I think brand awareness is really important. It's something that consciously I'm trying to improve on all the time, and having a network of people, but also reaching out to international talent as well. So not just hiring inside your country you're hiring for, but reaching out and trying to relocate talent is really important. There are some untapped talent in continents perhaps you would never look in, like South America, which, yes, it's expensive to bring them over, but there's an abundance of female talent and diverse talent in South America and even Eastern Europe, in Africa, in Southeast Asia. You just don't typically hire people from there in Europe, and it can be seen as really successful if you can find the right companies that products are shining in those places and tap into those places. Ultimately, you are designing it for a specific product, and hiring managers will want you to hire that person who has worked on that type of product. But ultimately, the long-term goal is to try and hire a diverse set of skills within the team so that different ways of thinking are really profound in the team, and that you've not got a group of the same people working on the same product with the same ideas. So having diverse skills in the team will really expand the products quicker. It's challenging. It took me a while to really understand the areas that and the key competencies that a UX designer really focuses on. So be patient when you first chat to people. Allow them to put their points across, and really take time in studying portfolios as well. It's a key skill that will help you excel in being able to notice a designer who has worked on a product that is necessary for you and being able to point out their expertise as well.